Good morning to those who normally watch my channel, and thank you for subscribing. This is a little, you know, variation of the videos I normally do, but it is kind of a continuation of the Washington's Eagle video I did. As I've mentioned in other videos, INFJs in general, want to believe and we're interested in the unknown and what's possible. And I think it's only fitting that given that I did a video on the Washington's Eagle, as described by famous ornithologist and author of Birds of America, John J. Audubon, to mention, the most cited and most reported cryptid in the state of Pennsylvania, where I grew up, and also, to date, the only cryptid that I have had a sighting of. And that, of course, would be the Thunderbird. Legends of the Thunderbird have been prominent in Pennsylvania and the United States, well, North America in general, since before European settlement. Just about every First Nation tribe had stories of Thunderbirds. They meant different omens to different tribes, but they were all pretty much described the same, or at least very similar. Usually to simplify it, a large, giant size vulture type creatures, either all black or black with a white ring. Um, More or less a very oversized condor type bird, which ironically enough once existed in the Americas during the last ice age. There was such a creature known as a teratorn, which was, a giant ancient vulture essentially, which had wingspans of up to 15 feet. I think some were even bigger, which perfectly coincides with what people report to be seeing. And oftentimes these creatures are spotted in multiple states, multiple witnesses at the same time. So it is curious how, misidentification could be the case if multiple people are seeing the exact same thing. In my case, I was, on a bike trail with a friend in 1999, and we saw what looked like a giant vulture. It was all black. It did not have a 15-foot wingspan, but it easily had an 11-foot wingspan. And, though we were only 12, we grew up here, we see turkey vultures almost every day. This was much larger. Now, I do not think what me and my friends saw in 99 was, an extinct teratorn, a relic population of a Pleistocene era animal. What I do believe, because it did very much resemble a turkey vulture, and I think this may be an explanation as to Thunderbird sightings, because there's usually a rash of sightings within a few weeks in one, fairly small geographic area, and then the sightings stop. My explanation is that, like humans, occasionally you get like a 7'6" man, like, in the 90s, the NBA had a guy named Sean Bradley who was 7'6". Could it be possible that that variation exists among turkey vultures, that every now and again you get a turkey vulture that is, the equivalent of their equivalent of what a man who's 7'6" is, or perhaps they're expressing ancient genes. In their case, the teratorn is that's an ancestor of theirs, similar to how occasionally you have domestic cattle express, wild aurochs traits. Some have actually been bred to. So it's not impossible that a modern animal, can, quote, hit the genetic lottery, so to say, and express traits of an extinct, more primitive, more prehistoric ancestor. There's debate amongst this among oceanographers with some massive great white sharks, that are they expressing ancient megalodon genes, and because some of them are growing into what they believe to be was the smaller of the megalodon range. They're bigger than previous great whites. So could that possibly be an explanation? It's interesting, nonetheless. I always enjoyed mysteries such as this since I was a child, and I always wonder, there must be some truth behind it. Of course, hoaxes are a thing, but there are, some sightings that cannot be hoaxes. It just, law of probability states that, you know, in certain instances, people are seeing something they can't explain. They're not, whether it's some like a legitimate cryptid is certainly up for debate, but not in every case is somebody actively doing a hoax in order to seek fame or fortune, like the famous sturgeon photo of the Loch Ness monster was, unfortunately. But I also like the proliferation of the Thunderbird story and how, you know, seemingly people that were uncontacted at the time were seeing the same thing. And in that case, that makes it very interesting. Also given that in North America, particularly in northern Canada, we have very remote woodland areas where something, could hide, areas where few people venture in the modern era, places where it would have been easier, where more people were, say, 150 years ago, back when there were nomadic First Nations people moving through the area, and also mountain men making a living off the land. That is, by and large, non existent in the modern era. So to think that how could something still be hidden today, while there's certainly, a lot of wilderness areas today that are rarely, if ever, visited by humans, and that's even more so the case now than, say 150 years ago. So it's interesting to wonder what could be out there, what people are actually seeing, what the explanation is. Is it a new species? Is it an undiscovered species? Is it a relic population of a thought to be extinct species? Or is it a, 1 in 500,000 genetic freak? I don't know. But it's interesting to wonder, and people should still keep searching because, especially being INFJs, we like answers. And I think most people like answers too, to know what's out there and to wonder what could be out there and to want to believe.